Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. I'm your host Chrissy B, bringing you the UK's only TV programme dedicated to your mental health, well-being and success. Today we're discussing a hidden disability that often goes unseen in an individual. Anxiety, highly focused interest, difficulty with social interaction, these may be feelings we all recognise, but they are symptoms that those with autism experience in extreme cases on a day-to-day basis. Now here on this programme we're raising awareness for Autism Awareness Month, which takes place in April. Today I'll be hearing from our resident psychologist Dr Audrey Tang, who'll be breaking down exactly what autism is and what the common causes are. Then later on I'll be joined by the director of autism charity Anna Kennedy of Anna Kennedy Online. She'll be telling me all about the amazing work that she's doing, as well as some first-hand experience of what living with a family member with autism can be like. We'll also be treated to a performance of Letting Go by Kieron Lee from the Anna Kennedy Online album Building Bridges. Later I'll also be getting some nutrition advice from Lily Soutter, who'll be showing me how to make a delicious and healthy Fudge Nut Smoothie. Then at the end of the show I'll be giving you some tips courtesy of the National Autistic Society on how you can help somebody who you believe may have autism. But actually these tips can help anyone who needs to approach someone else with something difficult to discuss. Now, autism affects more than 1 in 100 people here in the UK, which means around 2.8 million of us have a relative within the autism spectrum. Only 10% of autistic adults receive employment support, but 53% say they want it. Around 70% of autistic adults say they aren't getting the help they need from social services, and around 1 in 3 experience severe mental health difficulties due to a lack of support, which is why campaigns such as Autism Awareness Month are so important. Launched by the Autism Society nearly 25 years ago, Autism Awareness Month is celebrated through a number of online and localised events, activities and opportunities, all with the aim to promote autism awareness, inclusion and self-determination for all. Well, let's take a look at what you have to say about the matter on Twitter. RJ speaks of one man's incredible journey. This amazing man is riding 9,000 miles on a bike to spread awareness for bullying, Down syndrome, autism, etc. How many retweets can he get? Voice Care report of one person's struggle saying a first-class honours degree and Asperger's. Job interviews are my biggest challenge. Video Vamp says April is Autism Awareness Month, my friends. Caring for someone with autism will change your life, I promise. Alice says it is exhausting when most people who care about fighting for autistic people are autistic themselves. Whilst Autistic Buddha quotes psychologist Tony Attwood, I see people with Asperger's syndrome as a bright thread in the rich tapestry of life. So some great insights there, and here to help us understand exactly what autism is and how it can affect a person is our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang.
Hi Chrissy, thank you for having me. Another very fascinating topic, and autism was one of those issues that I really enjoyed teaching when I was teaching trainee teachers and teaching assistants. Autism is a disorder that's known as a spectrum disorder. In other words, it's not just, it doesn't manifest in one way only. There can be different levels of autism, and it's known as the autistic spectrum. It is a social disorder, which means that it affects social communication, social interaction and social imagination. In terms of communication, it may be that the person with autism is very direct. They may not understand personal space. They may say something like, oh, you're very fat, not meaning it as an insult, but just as an observation. They may not understand nuances, sarcasm, little bits of sense of humour. For example, telling somebody with autism to pull their socks up, they may well take that literally. Similarly with social interaction, as I say about personal space, they may not recognise that somebody doesn't want someone in their personal space, or they may not want to enter someone's personal space because they may be very protective of their own space. And also it might well be that they may react very negatively, unusually negatively, to someone telling them to stop doing something or giving them a direct instruction to do something else, especially if they don't want to do it. Also, they may have food, it's not an eating disorder, but problems with eating just because of colours of food touching each other. Sometimes the texture of food can be a problem as well. And people with autism do tend to be very sensitive to heat. So again, hugging, whilst that doesn't mean quite the same thing to someone with autism, it's not quite that feeling of comfort, they may also struggle to get out of that hug purely because they're just feeling a little bit too warm in terms of that bodily contact. Social imagination wise as well, people with autism don't have a lot of imagination. They tend to be very literal, they tend to take things very literally. Now, the causes of autism are still as yet unknown. There has been research which has looked at things like the mother having German measles or rubella when she was pregnant, or perhaps it might be Fragile X syndrome, or it might be due to the MMR, but I say take those with a pinch of salt. Whilst there has been some research which points to potentially some connection, it does not mean it's the cause. So I'm very loath to say that any of those are a definite cause of somebody being on the autistic spectrum. It affects anyone. Boys do tend to be diagnosed with it more so than girls, but it's not one of those things where you think, oh my goodness, someone with autism means their life is over. Actually, people with autism can have very fulfilling lives. They have very fulfilling relationships, and sometimes it's just about understanding that their social expression and the way they wish to show things like affection may just be different to yours. It's very important when you're getting a child diagnosed for autism to make sure that it isn't something else that's showing some of the symptoms of being on the spectrum. Autism can be confused or is related to things like Tourette syndrome, obsessive compulsive disorder, bipolar. And also I've known cases where parents have thought a child was on the spectrum but actually they were selectively mute, and in one case the child was deaf. So it is worth noticing patterns. If you've noticed some of the symptoms that I've mentioned earlier, then that's more indicative of being on the autistic spectrum. And if you notice something like that, it is worth speaking to other people, because certainly in the case of somebody who is selectively mute, they may not behave in that way when they're in a different context. So if you're noticing things like fussiness over eating because colours of food are touching, or textures are strange, or a child is always invading personal space or never wanting to be part of a group thing, or getting unusually upset because they've been told to do something or been told not to do something, then find out from other people. Does it happen when the child is around at their house? Does it happen in the school context? And if you are noticing this happens time and time again, then it is very likely that child is on the autistic spectrum. At that point, it is worth then going to the GP to get a formal diagnosis, and they will then refer to get that diagnosis, because then you get all the support that that child will need, especially throughout school.
Thanks very much to Audrey there, and we'll be hearing more from her later on in the show. Now, before we hear from Anna Kennedy, I'm delighted to welcome Kieron Lee on to perform his song Letting Go from the Anna Kennedy album Building Bridges.
Lately I have seen things from a low horizon, cried until I fell down, losing my way. I walked the streets of your dawn, I called you in the early morn, knowing that we're not what you want to gain. Still I'm just trying to hold on, I'm just trying to hold on as long as I can. And if in this life you really don't want to walk beside me, then let go of my hand. Let go of my hand. Well, I know we stay my boat, a lot has happened lately. You are just somebody passing my way. You came into my life, telling me that you love that you don't leave me. I don't understand. Still, I'm just trying to hold on. I'm just trying to hold on as long as I can. And if in this life you really don't want to walk beside me, then let go of my hand. Let go of my hand. Now I start to question life coming from the inside. I now see the outside causes most the pain. You told me that you loved me, but I never got to see you unless your family and friends had other plans. I'm just trying to hold on. I'm just trying to hold on as long as I can. And if in this life you really don't want to walk beside me, then let go of my hand. Let go of my hand.
Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone. Well, as you know, today is all about autism in preparation for Autism Awareness Month, which takes place in April. And so far, we've heard from Psychologist Dr Audrey Tang on the causes and symptoms of autism, and now I'm delighted to be joined by the founder of autism charity, Anna Kennedy Online. Hello, Anna.
Hi, nice to see you again.
Oh, it's lovely to have you back on the programme. You have been so busy.
Yeah, I'm always busy.
Obviously, we're going to get an update on what you've been up to since you were last on the programme. For the benefit of our new viewers, can you just tell us briefly about your story and your two sons?
Okay, yeah, I have two sons. Patrick's now 27. He's got Asperger's syndrome. Yeah. And Angelo's 24. He has autism, sensory processing condition and epilepsy. And because of the lack of provision of where I lived in Hillingdon, we set up our own school. So it was myself and my husband. We decided to remortgage our house and we set up Hillingdon Manor School. Okay. My boys were at home for about 3 years and they were just getting 5 hours home tuition. And I was getting really frustrated because everything you read about is autism needs early intervention. And I thought, well, where is it? I can't seem to get it. So that's why we decided to set up our own school. So we had a crash course in absolutely everything because it was a school that they were going to knock down. They were going to build 37 flats. So there was just nothing. It was just an empty shell. I decided we needed help. So I started to go out into the community and the local newspaper, and everybody just came out of the woodwork and started to support us. Even the probation service came along.
Really?
Yeah,
wow.
Prince's Trust, we had everybody. And then it was a 3-year project, but because of the demand for parents really looking for a placement, we did it in 10 months.
That's amazing.
So, so now it's one of the largest schools for children with autism. It has 190 pupils that travel in from 17 different local authorities. And then as my son started to get older, I was looking around to see provision for adults, and there just wasn't hardly anything at all, especially for Angelo's always going to need one-to-one support. So we set up a vocational college, now has 45.
A college?
A vocational college, 45 adults from 16 and upwards. And then a second school, Baston House School, which is in Kent. So 2 schools and a college and a residential home. And then in 2009...
You have been busy, haven't you?
Yeah, I'm a bit of a workaholic. Obviously, I've got a fantastic team behind me and, you know, everybody's really passionate about what they do. So So in 2009, parents started writing to me, going through the same difficulties that I went through with diagnosis, trying to find the right type of school, transition, you know, what happens in adulthood. So I decided to set up Anna Kennedy Online, which is a charity that supports families across the country. So we have a legal helpline, which is my husband Sean, so he gives advice on disability discrimination. We also have a helpline where parents just point me in the right direction. We do events, things like Autism's Got Talent, which is my favourite part of the year. We're in our 6th year now, and we have 20 performers from across the country that have wow factor talent. Last year we had 23 performers. I actually squeezed in an extra 3. And we had performers from Croatia, we had Sweden, America, Canada. It was, you have to be there to really appreciate this show. It just like makes the hairs on the back of your neck stand up. It gives you like how can I say, like a flood of emotions because you're watching these children, and because we know the backstory of each individual, it's like really means a lot to us. And it's not only what goes on stage, it's behind stage, where they're making friends, where they haven't had friends before, families making connections. So it's a fabulous show. And this year we're working again at the Mermaid Theatre. We always use the same theatre because it really works for us. So we've got 20 performers, and we work with Pineapple Performing Arts, so they're supporters as well. So that's something else that we do. We've just had an expo, which is at Brunel University. And what it is, it's like a one-stop shop for families. So they come along, they visit exhibition stands, you know, they might be looking for sensory toys, they might be looking for books to learn more information, because once you have a child with autism, a parent becomes really hungry for information. And it's to look about what strategy is best for my child, which one do I choose, you know, and which school's going to be best for my child, because obviously you're trying to pave the way so to make it as easy as possible for your child. So the expo, we had speakers, and also we have clinics. So like, for example, my husband was really busy because parents were queuing up for legal advice or advice about the special educational needs system. We have, and it was just so well attended, and it's that people can just walk around freely, chat to other parents. So it was our second one, so we'll be doing it again next year.
Brilliant.
I've done things like, since I've seen you, a fashion show where we pampered mums, dads, granddads, nanas, children on the spectrum.
So you never rest then, basically?
No, I'm always I'm sitting in here thinking, what can I do here? It's just like my brain is thinking all the time. We work with West Ham, training their coaches. One of our senior practitioners, he's now become their inclusion manager, so it's working with them as well.
I just want to ask you something, because you obviously, when you're speaking, you're very excited about everything that you're doing.
When I am not, I know that's the time to stop.
Yeah, because the reason I'm saying that is because many parents that discover that their child or children have autism, they can actually fall into this thing of getting very depressed, thinking, oh, why did this happen to me, and why my child, and it gets very, very negative. But you seem to have sort of not even, well, I don't know if you went through that at the beginning.
I did.
But then the way you've turned around. But can you just sort of maybe just explain what it is that you went through, the thought process at the beginning when you first discovered that your sons had these conditions, and then how you turned that around to be so excited about everything?
Well, Angelo was diagnosed quite early. He was sort of 2 years old, because he had everything. He was speaking, he was walking, he had eye contact, and then he just lost everything. He just like lost his speech, this glazed eyes. It was just, I've got photographs of him where you can see he's really engaging, and then he just lost it all. He started getting fixated on patterns on the wallpaper. He'd run from one end of the room to the other. He'd line up things. No sleep, like I had nights where it was 24 hours. He would just be going from one end of the room to the other, squealing. And I thought I was going mad. But I was just thinking, I was looking to think, why is he doing this? Is there something I can do? Is he in pain? And because obviously he didn't have the speech. And
that must have been so hard.
It was hard, and it's tiring, and you're looking for somebody to blame, but there's nobody to blame. Obviously my son Patrick got diagnosed. He was diagnosed at 4, but we didn't find out till he was 7, and he went through all those difficulties at school, We found out by accident because of the difficulties he was having at school.
Yeah. What kind of difficulties?
Difficulties with not sleeping, becoming very anxious, saying that he's being bullied at school, not wanting to go to school. Yeah. Even things like when he was eating, you know, he'd only have the same brand of certain things and he wouldn't even tolerate anything else. He'd become like a little Einstein, if you like. He'd memorise lots of stories. And so there's lots of different difficulties because each child with autism is so different from the other. And that's what I always say, is that when you've worked with a child with autism, you know about that child. Okay. You don't know about the autism spectrum condition because each of the children are so different. And obviously each child...
And you had to learn two ways.
And a lot of the children have overlapping conditions like dyslexia, dyscalculia, OCD. So it's not only the autism, it's the overlapping conditions as well. A lot of children can have mental health conditions as well because of their anxiety. So obviously having two sons on the autism spectrum, I was thinking about, you know, what did I do wrong? I don't drink, I don't smoke, you know, I exercise. But then after that, after feeling sorry for myself, and also because I was isolated because my parents lived in the northeast and I was in London with my husband. And then after that, I just thought, this is not going to help me. It's not going to help my husband. It's not going to help my boy. So I thought, what can I do? So after the local authority said that they couldn't meet their needs, I just thought, I've got to do something. So that's what I'm saying.
That's so positive because you could have just gone on.
Yeah, well, I'd never opened a school. Yeah, I'd never opened a school before. But it's just like when I get something fixated in my brain, no one's going to take it out. I'm just like, I'm driven, and it's just like.
We didn't notice that, Anna. You're very driven.
That's just me, yeah. And I do get sad, you know, and I have all those feelings, but they don't last very long. And I do get one thing I do get is extremely tired. And
well, I'm not surprised, really. I think we need to whisk you away somewhere and make sure you have some time.
But a lot of parents do because it's the worry, it's the anxiety, it's, you know, you're always worrying about that when when you're dead and gone, who's going to look after them, that sort of thing. And also, you know, you want the best for your son or your daughter, and you just want them to have the same opportunities as everybody else. And it's just that they need, you know, maybe some small reasonable adjustments. Like my son's at college, he's thriving because they get him. And obviously, I'm not saying that all children should go to special school, but some children need to because of the difficulties that they have. But some children can really thrive in mainstream because they've got the right support in place. So it's all about training. For me, it's like the key thing is training. And I'm not talking about an A4-sided piece of paper. I'm talking about proper training, you know, so for education, for social services, for health. Because there's 1 in 64 children been diagnosed with autism. So there's a lot of children and adults out there, and they need the support as early as possible.
Anna, what about your future plans? Hopefully after you've taken a little bit of a break, teeny bit of a holiday, what else do you have planned?
Well, obviously, something that I've just started is the charity album. I've become like a Simon Cowell of the autism world. And I just get people send me in songs, they send me in artwork, fantastic artwork. I get sent in all sorts of different things, books for, you know, can you read my book? And so I would like Autism's Got Talent to be huge. I would like Autism's Got Talent to be somewhere like Wembley, the O2, and for them to perform alongside mainstream artists just to show we're as good as you. And as you probably can see from Kieron Lee, who sang here today, you can see that he's amazing. He could easily slot in with.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So my idea is to have an album every year, to do something like that. So that's one of my dreams. I'd like the charity to become a foundation, to get a lot bigger, so I can do more projects. Like I'm on the tube, and I ring my PA, and I say I've got an idea, and she's got not another one. So
don't stop, woman.
But it's just like I want to create opportunities, and that's what we're doing with performing arts at the minute. So it's
now we did actually film the Hard Rock Cafe.
Yeah. Oh, do you know what? It was amazing.
The viewers soon.
Yeah, guys. It was amazing. The Hard Rock.
What was that like?
This was something that I approached Aaron York. He performed on Autism's Got Talent a couple of years ago, and then he told me he had a recording studio in his house. Now my brain started ticking over. So I thought, I wonder if I could put an album together where it's created by, it's written by, it's produced by, the photographs have been taken by everybody who has autism. And you know what? And then when they said that we could have the Hard Rock Cafe in Mayfair alongside iconic memorabilia, I just thought, oh, I can't believe it. And it's just when we got there, we were buzzing, you know, and we saw like, you know, memorabilia from like Jimi Hendrix, you know, Elvis Presley, Madonna, and our singers were singing in the same place where alongside this. And the other funny thing was that people came along, obviously, to support us, and it was packed. Yeah. And we had celebrities there as well. And I think sometimes people come along to these things because they think, oh, it's a bit tokenistic, let's go and support the children or the adults with autism. Yeah. But they were entertained, and people were turning around and saying, they're really good. And I just thought, well, why wouldn't they be good? So I'm really proud of them, and I'm proud of what we do.
And I just wanted to ask you another question, because you've got a knack of making things happen. Now, this is, you know, putting all the sort of the other things aside now, and just you as a person making things happen. For those that, you know, are watching and you have an idea or you have a project in your head, or even if it's a business, I'd like you just, how do you actually, first of all, keep going and just, you don't stop until things happen?
I have a vision.
What is it that
I have a thing where I've got a vision and things go buzz around in my head. If they don't come out, if I don't talk about them, they stay there. Okay. So the things that I actually talk about, I have to make them happen. So I look,
how and why?
I just look at who can I talk to. So like, for example, we did a survey about diagnosis. Mm-hmm. So a lot of parents were writing to me saying that they were waiting on average some 4 years, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years for a diagnosis. And I thought, that's ridiculous, because the child needs early intervention. And obviously all these overlapping conditions that they have, and then they can develop into mental health. So I thought, we've got to do something about this. So I thought, I'm going to put it out on Facebook and say, how long have you been waiting for a diagnosis? So I thought, see if people respond. Within like 5-10 minutes, I had 100 responses. So I thought, right, I'm going to put SurveyMonkey together. We put 10 questions, I put it out. For the whole weekend, I was banging the survey out. Come on, fill the survey out. Don't whinge about your child not having a diagnosis or waiting for so many years. Let's fill out the survey and let's see how far we get. 2,000 people filled it out within a weekend. Yeah. So then I spoke to Norman Lamb, because I thought, I've got to do something with this information. So we spoke to Norman Lamb, and he said he would arrange a meeting at the Department of Health with the senior officials. So off we went, and we gave them all the results.
So you're really creating these opportunities, aren't you? By just putting some, because you didn't know if that would work or not, but you tried anyway.
No, that's right.
The thing. You
and that's what I do. It's just like, and if somebody says no, go somewhere else where someone's going to say yes.
Thank you, exactly.
It's just, and I have a motto: you can either give in, give up, give it all you've got, and then some.
Okay. I think we need to end it on that, because that was absolutely perfect. Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we're going to be hearing a lot more from you. And of course, you're welcome to come back on the programme to tell us the updates, because I'm sure there's going to be loads more things that you're going to have to talk about. Amazing stuff. Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, guys, so don't go away, because after the break, I'll be hearing how the right nutrition can help with autism from nutritionist Lily Soutter. And she'll also be answering some nutrition questions and rustling up a delicious, healthy Fudge Nut Smoothie. Hi, I'm Chrissy B, and my show is all about improving your mental health and being happy. Join me every Monday, Wednesday and Friday at 10 p.m. on my channel Sky 203. Visit chrissybshow.tv for more information and subscribe to our YouTube channel, Chrissy B Show. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chrissy B Show, and on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everybody, where today has been all about autism. And now it's time to talk to the lovely Lily Soutter, when we're going to be discussing autism and nutrition. Welcome to the show, Lily.
Thank you for having me.
It's lovely to have you back. As usual, you always give great advice, so that's why we invite you time and time again. So to tell us, can nutrition actually help someone with autism?
Well, many people with autism actually have digestive issues, and in children about 85% have some kind of IBS type symptoms, which can actually, in a way, it can lead to sort of behavioural issues, just because of the pain and the, you know, all the digestive issues that they're having to go through. So in that sense, nutrition can help with digestion. So it's looking at making sure you're getting in enough fibre into your diet. So having plenty of whole grains, beans, lentils, pulses, sort of chickpeas, lots of vegetables, nuts, seeds, Making sure you're having enough water within the diet as well is really, really essential.
Yeah.
Food intolerances and food allergies are another area which sort of scientists have looked at. There probably isn't enough evidence to give a blanket statement saying that everybody with autism has a food intolerance or a food allergy. However, there's been quite a bit of research on dairy products and gluten as well in relation to autism. And casein is actually a protein found in dairy. So by that I mean it could be, you know, cow's milk or goat's milk or sheep, you know, anything. And it could be in cheese, yogurt. And some evidence has shown that can exacerbate sort of symptoms associated with autism as well. Same thing goes with gluten as well. Sometimes when gluten is eliminated, sometimes some of the behavioural symptoms can actually improve. This isn't a blanket statement for everybody. So when eliminating certain food groups from the diet, it has to be done with care. So I would advise that anyone would go and see a nutritionist or a dietitian to help them with this, because the last thing you want to be doing is eliminating food groups which willy-nilly, which you don't really need to do, and potentially becoming deficient in certain nutrients. So that's one area. And I guess that also, you know, as we're talking about the gut bacteria is also really, really important to focus on. So the scientists are now referring to our gut as our second brain. There's a very strong sort of gut-brain axis or link between the gut and the brain. A lot of our neurotransmitters, so by that I mean serotonin, our happy hormone, dopamine, the reward pathway sort of neurotransmitter, are produced. A lot of them are actually located within the gut, so not in the brain. 90% of serotonin is within the gut.
So interesting,
10% is in the brain, And our gut bacteria actually influence the amount of serotonin and dopamine that we produce. So if you have any imbalances in good or bad bacteria in the gut, or any sort of alterations within gut bacteria, you may not be producing the correct amount of serotonin and dopamine that you need, which can eventually lead to behavioural type issues. And actually, again, studies have shown that those with autism actually have altered gut bacteria. And if you supplement with some certain strains of gut bacteria in a probiotic form, sometimes it can help with symptoms, but it's very hard to know which specific strain that is. So my advice from that with gut bacteria is simply you could either supplement with a probiotic, which could come in a capsule form, or you could eat just lots of fibre-rich food. So trillions of species of gut bacteria, and they literally feed off fibre. So it helps all the different species flourish and grow within the gut. So again, loads of vegetables, even things like sort of raw bananas can act as a prebiotic, so they can help gut bacteria to grow. Lots of beans, pulses, again, nuts, seeds are going to be really, really vital.
Right.
So
what are you going to be making today for us then?
So today I'm going to be making a smoothie. So it's called a nut butter fudge smoothie.
Sounds delicious.
And it is dairy free, so there's no casein, that protein molecule. It is also gluten free. The issue with dairy-free, gluten-free is if people are trying that often, they don't have much sort of nice sweet treats that can be difficult. So there's no refined sugar, there's no rubbish, there's no additives in here, but it's sort of a tastier smoothie with a chocolatey taste, basically.
All right, so take us through how we're going to do this.
Okay, so first of all, I'll just go maybe through the foods. We've got bananas, which is full of vitamin B6. Do you want me to explain a bit about the B6,
briefly,
or shall I very briefly?
Briefly,
B6, again, a lot of research in relation to autism and B6. B6, it helps synthesize or helps make serotonin and dopamine again. So it's a really, really important vitamin to have in the diet. So we've got banana, we've also got cinnamon, which is great for balancing blood sugar. Linseeds, or the other word is flax seeds, and they are full of fibre but also omega-3 fats for the brain. Most of our brain is made up of fat. Also protein, and then peanut butter. No sugar in here at all, and it's full of protein again and healthy fats.
It all sounds lovely already. We haven't even put it together.
Yeah,
yet.
cacao, which is a raw chocolate, so full of antioxidants, full of magnesium.
Guilt-free.
Guilt-free, yeah.
Yes.
And it works very well in combination with the B6
Yeah.
and almond milk, which is dairy-free. So yes, I'll start. So it's literally, I don't have anything to measure this with, but usually it's around 300 mils, but it doesn't really matter how much you put in. So almond milk is very low in sugar, which is really great.
And it tastes lovely as well, doesn't
And
it?
it tastes really good.
Like a few of the things here.
Yes, thank you. And then it's 1 banana. Again, this can act as a prebiotic, feeding your good gut bacteria, which is
And it
great.
should be a ripe banana, a very ripe banana, just for the sweetness.
Yeah, the riper it is, the sweeter it is, basically. It really is up to you, however sweet you like your smoothies.
I suppose for kids especially, they'll
They'll prefer the riper ones. 1 tablespoon of flax seeds. Sorry, they're going everywhere. And then 1 tablespoon of peanut butter.
Okay.
So that's going to give it sort of
Sort
the,
these out of the way for you.
yeah, that's going to give it the sort of nutty, indulgent taste in a healthy way. You can switch it if there's any kind of allergies to peanuts. You can actually switch it to almond butter as well, or different types of nuts. Seed butters work really well as well. So
I love peanut butter. I just have it just like that on banana sometimes.
yeah, it's amazing. You can have it with apple or any kind of fruit that you want, and it tastes really great. So it's really important you do go for the ones with no rubbish in, so no sort of trans fats as well. Then we have the cacao. So it's 2 tablespoons or 4 teaspoons.
I think I might have this for breakfast tomorrow. I'll make my own one.
Yeah.
Great.
And then that's it. You can put a pinch of cinnamon as well, which I don't know whether I put in yet.
There you go.
Yeah,
I'll
so
wait
it
for
can
you
be
before you even have a
it can
chance
be a
to do it.
pinch. Usually
Yeah.
I quite like quite a bit of cinnamon in mine, but just add a little bit more flavour. You can also add ice as well if you like.
Okay.
And then we just put that on top.
Shall I give it a whiz?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. How long should you blend it for?
Sorry. It doesn't really matter. Nutribullets are very, very quick.
Yeah,
so
okay.
it depends on how you like it,
All right,
really.
okay.
A couple of seconds.
Okie dokie. Oh, it looks lovely.
Should be okay. I think that's blended mostly.
So that looks so naughty, but it's not, is it?
No, not at all. There's
Okay.
no refined sugar. And a big thing also, those suffering with autism shouldn't have a ton of high fructose corn syrup. They shouldn't have preservatives, additives, colourings, flavourings, all that additional rubbish that comes with processed food. So again, if they're eliminating sort of dairy and gluten to see if that does improve symptoms, having something like this is a you know, you can still have the indulgence of it without.
It is really, first of all, it tastes really nice and filling. It tastes good. You can actually taste that it's really good for you.
Yeah.
And that will probably see me through to lunchtime.
Yeah,
Have that for
definitely.
breakfast.
Smoothies
Yeah.
are great for filling you up.
All right,
So.
Lily, thank you for that. But we do have a couple of viewer questions if I can find them down here. We've got a couple more minutes if I can ask you. Okay, our first question that we have to, not to do with autism, is something different. This person is asking, can drinking too much English breakfast tea be damaging for you? My partner easily drinks 15 to 20 cups a day and she swears it can only be good for her. I'm not too sure. Can you help?
So English breakfast tea can actually have just as much caffeine as coffee.
Oops, really?
Yeah, and what happens every time you're drinking caffeine, it's a stressor on the body. So it puts us into a sort of fight or flight mode, causes the body to release adrenaline and then the stress hormone cortisol. That shunts sugar into the bloodstream from our energy stores and gives us sort of a temporary blood sugar high, but it will always result in a blood sugar crash. And it just can cause cravings for more tea, like quick fix tea, or other cravings for quick fix foods like sugary foods or refined foods. We're only meant to have, I think the maximum amount of caffeine per day is around 400 milligrams. So it's actually Well, it's a relatively large amount in my eyes, but maybe for this lady, it's not so much.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
How many
But
cups would that be like about?
it varies, because the problem is, say you go into Starbucks, they have very, very large cups, and the cups are getting larger and larger, and it seems the norm to have these massive sort of grande size cups of tea or coffee. So yes, 20 cups is going to be pretty excessive. My advice would be to switch some of those to herbal teas, which all have amazing health properties. So like peppermint tea is great for digestion, ginger's good for nausea, or cinnamon's good for balancing blood sugar. So what she really needs to watch out for is maybe also the strength of the tea that she's making. If she's sitting there, you know, swishing the tea bag around for a long time, then that will be a very high caffeine, you know, beverage. If it's just a couple of, you know, she's dipping in her tea bag a couple of times and it's a weak tea, that's slightly better. Okay. Herbal teas also count towards our water intake, so it may be a good switch.
I normally have about 3 cups or 2 to 3 cups of English breakfast tea a day, but I seem to just need that first thing in the morning.
Yeah, a lot of people do. So they've become, it just shows it can be very addictive, caffeine, and actually just stopping cold turkey can be very hard, and I don't always advise against it. It's just sort of cutting down rather than completely cutting it out.
Okay. All right. Just time for one quick one as well. Is it healthy for children to be on a vegan diet, or do they need some meat in order to develop properly?
So my opinion is that, you know, I would never judge someone if that was what they wanted to do, and that you know, their beliefs were that their children should be on a vegan diet. It is possible, but they have to be very, very strict in terms of making sure they're getting all the nutrition they need. They may need to supplement with certain supplements like B12, iron. If the child is under 5, it can be very, very hard, because you know, vegan diets don't tend to have enough calories in them, because there's a lot of fibre, so it suppresses appetite, and the children may not be consuming enough calories that they need to grow and develop. So if you're going to put your child on a vegan diet, definitely see a nutritionist to make sure they're getting everything they need, and it has to be extremely well planned.
Okay. Lily, thank you so much.
Okay, no problem at all.
We'll see you again very soon on the programme. Right, guys, so don't go away, because we do have more for you after this break. Welcome back to the Chrissy B Show, everyone, and we look after your mental health, well-being and success. Now, earlier we heard from our resident psychologist, Dr Audrey Tang, who told us what autism is, its causes and links to other disorders. So now we return to her as she explains how you can support somebody with autism and what is being done to help those with the condition.
Should you be supporting somebody with autism, or you are part of a family who is supporting somebody with autism, then it's very important to be mindful when speaking with that person. What you need to appreciate is that autism is just an understanding of the world on a different social plane. What I mean by that is, research has shown that even without autism or any other form of disorder, we may all speak very different languages when it comes to expressing our emotions. For example, there are 5 languages of love. And this means just because I don't express my feelings in a certain way, it doesn't mean I'm not feeling them. It just means I'm not expressing them in the way that you would express them, or perhaps in the way that you would want me to express them. And this is just the same with a child on the autistic spectrum, or an adult or a person on the autistic spectrum. They just express and would like affection and feelings to be expressed in a different way. Help them in terms of giving them a little bit of respite as well. When you're caring for somebody with any form of mental health disorder, it can be very tiring, and it's really important sometimes just to remember, oh yes, I am Sarah, or I am Fred. It's one of those things where you may lose your identity. Not only do you become just mum or dad, but you then become mum or dad and carer. And it's important sometimes to be able to go shopping, go out to the cinema, and remember who you are as well. So do seek respite care as well. We also need to be very aware that if somebody doesn't want to look us in the eye, it doesn't mean they're being rude. It may just mean they do not want to look us in the eye, and we need to be mindful of that. And it's teachers that we do tend to be a bit, oh, look at me, to prove that you're telling the truth. We just need to be aware that the person on the spectrum does express themselves a little bit differently, and they can't be expected to be as comfortable with the conventions that would suit, I don't like the phrase normal thinking, but that is the phrase that is often used to describe other people not on the spectrum. It's probably worth adding that now there's a greater understanding of autism, and lots of places are being a lot more welcoming and understanding of the disorder and exactly what that child or that person needs. Also, if a child is high functioning autism or is high functioning on the spectrum, they may be very interested in quite esoteric pursuits, chess or mathematics or trains or something like that. And whilst we ourselves may not have that interest, it is worth looking into pushing them and getting them to engage a lot more. We needn't be scared as parents or teachers if that child does have so much of a greater understanding than we do, because often this can be one of the symptoms of autism, that child has that very great understanding of a certain topic. So I think the main thing is we are getting more understanding, we are getting more knowledgeable about autism, and there's a lot out there, we just need to go and look for it.
So thank you very much to Dr. Audrey Tang, and we'll catch up with her again next week. So now I'm going to be going through some tips on how to help somebody you believe may have autism. And these tips could be for those of you who maybe have a family member, friend or parent who you believe is showing signs of autism. But actually these tips are good for all of us who need to approach someone with a difficult subject. Now these are from the National Autistic Society, but I will be sort of talking about people without autism as well. So the first point is to find the right time. So choose a time when you and the person are alone and both of you are in a positive mood. In all cases, people are more receptive to ideas if they are relaxed and comfortable. So it will be much harder to discuss, for example, during an argument or when other people are present or when the person is feeling stressed or upset. And as I said, this can like cover any kind of relationship, any difficulty that you're having with another person. If you're going to go in there guns blazing or say something like, you've got a problem, can't you see there's something wrong? And if you approach the subject like that, of course, it's not going to be a great thing, and you're likely to get, the person's likely to get very defensive. So make sure, first of all, that you're in the right frame of mind to approach the subject, and then to make sure you find the right time. The second point that they suggest is to do your research. So the best way to start your conversation may be to say something like, I read something in the paper, I heard a radio program about autism and some of the characteristics that sound familiar. So I looked for more information on the National Autistic Society website, and here's what I found. So you're actually easing into the subject rather than just saying, well, I think you might have autism. Because if it hasn't even crossed the person's mind, and then all of a sudden you're there, with that kind of statement, again, you might be faced with some defensiveness. So if you do your research and you find out and you just kind of bring it gently into the conversation, that might be better off. And again, even if it's not to do with autism, but if you're noticing that the person has, for example, a mental health issue, you can see maybe there's signs of depression there. There's signs of something that it's not, the person is struggling with something. Again, you can use that same approach when I was reading up about this and lead into the conversation that way. Let's go to the third point, which is be mindful of the condition. So they're saying autistic people can have difficulty processing information, so be careful not to bombard them with too many details at once. They may also find it hard to understand your intentions, read body language or facial expressions, and they say that this can cause frustration or anxiety and make it harder for the person to actually accept what you're saying. And again, this also translates to people with depression and mental health conditions as well. And the next point is bring information with you. So the society are saying that you should have some written information about autism or Asperger's syndrome to hand. And reading through the written information together may actually make it easier for the person to process the information than a conversation on its own. And they can also read it again in their own time, so that you don't have to pressure them to read everything there and then. And the fifth point is don't always rely on talking. So the society is saying that talking to a person is not the only way of broaching the subject, and they suggest that you could actually write them a letter or an email, and this will actually give you time to plan exactly what you want to say and allow them more time and space to digest it. And actually, this is something that I've done in the past where I was having a difficult situation with a family member and we weren't getting anywhere by talking, and actually the person didn't really want to discuss the subject, and I felt that I really needed to express myself and you know, share what I was going through as well and share my side of things. And so I decided to write a letter instead, and it was a lot easier because I'd always found it quite difficult to talk to this particular person or have a conversation. And writing, I don't know if you read the whole thing, but actually writing helped me to express everything that I was feeling, helped me to get everything off my chest, and without being interrupted and without being sort of facing that person with, you know, being defensive and stuff like that. So that is something that you could consider if, for example, you've tried to speak to certain person about things that you're feeling and it gets into a very heated argument for some reason. Try writing to them instead. It's not going to work with everyone, unfortunately, but at least that's a way that you can actually express yourself without being interrupted, I would say. But also, as you would when you're actually speaking to a person, when you're writing, also be careful of your tone, because you could also come across as very confrontational even in writing. So just be careful of the way that you phrase things, and make it about you wanting to be able to express yourself rather than attacking the person in writing as well. So that's just a little tip for you. And you know, it does really help some people, and that person as well obviously is not going to really get worked up and angry, and they've got no one to argue with because they're reading something. So sometimes it does work. Well guys, we have reached the end of today's program, and I do hope that this has helped you today and that it's also helped you to understand more about autism. And if you have a story that you would like to share, maybe actually you have some comments to share about this particular program today even, you can email us on info@chrissybshow.tv. You can also tweet us at Chrissy B Show or leave a message on our Facebook page, The Chrissy B Show. Until next time, bye for now.